This is my DIY trauma kit, and I'm just going to tell you right now, don't build a kit like this if you're not willing to train and learn how to use it, get some medical courses, watch YouTube University, whatever, okay? I think we all should have an ouchie boo-boo kit, being able to take adhesive bandages, give somebody a little bit of medicine, a little bit of BC powder. That should always be a part of your kit. This kit lives hanging on the back of my headrest in my vehicle. I have two trauma kits in my vehicle. One is pre-built, one is DIY. Let's go over the DIY kit. Anything in here, if you have any suggestions on how I can improve this, always comment down below. And let's just jump right into this. So the actual components, like the base layer of this, is the Van Quest. It's the fat pack. Now you can get this in a 5x8 or you can get it a 4x6. I have the 5x8. This is Gen 2. It's a first aid trauma pack. A lot of different companies make stuff like this. You can get stuff from Expedition. You can get stuff from 511. I think Vertex has it as well. Then there's a bunch of companies that just, as long as you have quick access to your stuff, I think that's incredibly important. There are things in here I already know I'm going to upgrade. I want to change out a little bit just from a couple of scenarios that I ran into. On the very front of what the pack itself is, it does come with a strap, which will allow for you to hang it from different places or walk with it around your neck. I lost my strap a couple years ago, so just kind of keeping it real with you. But I have replaced it with this Dango lanyard, which still works for me for hanging it on the back of my seat. And normally I just kind of hook this around to itself, and then this whole thing just hangs on the seat and it's just always there. So it gives you a lot of different MOLLE areas on the outside for you to put additional items. A little bit of a loop panel here. So if you have something with a hook back, you can put that there. I have it just identified with med. So if I get in an accident or if somebody else is using the vehicle, they can grab this and know that this is a med kit. Very front, I do have the Leatherman Raptor tool. Now, I want to replace this because as much as I like this tool, the functionality for it does kind of get in the way. At least some of my buddies are EMT guys, and they explained to me that this thing works. You know, being able to use this hook tool to actually cut seat belts or to cut through someone's clothing can be helpful. Using the scissors themselves to cut through someone's clothing is helpful. But one of my buddies is EMT, and he said that the biggest hiccup with these shears are if someone is wearing like something thick like this, a hoodie, if they're wearing several layers of clothing, the shears themselves can get caught up. So he recommends either get a strong brand like Leatherman Raptor rescue tool, but I'm also thinking about picking up just a dedicated hook tool with a super sharp edge similar to this here, but the entire thing will be used for ripping away someone's clothing. I know that Benchmade has some stuff that they've had for years. Just anything that I think will be functional, I think I want to pick that up just to have it, because I want to make sure that whatever I have the ability to know that I'm going to be able to use it. Whatever you get, just train with it, whether it has old clothing that you can wear, you can put on somebody else and just train with that. Don't get the shit and never use it. That's highly not advised. Another area where I advise you get the real thing and don't get something that's fake is a combat action tourniquet. You want to get a tourniquet, whether it's from North American Rescue or one of their competitors, one that has a national stock number, an NSN number. It's approved for use on troops, and ensure it's a real tourniquet. If you don't, it can break when you go to deploy it. If you get a counterfeit cat tourniquet or something like that, it may not actually stop the bleeding. It may not be able to apply enough pressure. It may unravel when you use it. Get a real one. If you're spending less than like $25 on a tourniquet, you probably don't have a real one. So get a real one. I have one in EMT orange. Orange is usually what EMTs carry. You can also get black, which is more tactical. Blue are trainers. I have trainers, so you can get blue and use those for training purposes and use them on a dummy or whatever, so you can just feel what it feels like to use those. Right next to that is a Sharpie, so if I have to apply this on someone, it does have an area here that you would write the time that you applied it. You normally want to write that in military time, so that if somebody else approaches and they see, 1900, they know that you applied it at 7 o'clock in the evening. Now, when you're writing the time down on the tourniquet itself for whatever wound, and they've got your practice, you're good to go. You want to make sure that you're accurately reflecting what time it is. And as much as you guys like smartwatches, I'm an advocate to get you guys away from wearing those things. And one of the things that I could say that can get you away from those is today's video sponsor, which is Veer in their Dirty Dozen line of watches. This is the C3 Dirty Dozen. This is Americorp's Move It 36 millimeter watch. This watch pays homage to the watches that were made for British military troops during World War II and other allied soldiers as well. Here's the thing. When the British military, they actually paid 12 companies to make watches for their troops, and they had to be a number of things. They had to be waterproof, accurate, and they had to be shockproof, amongst other things. And this watch pays homage to that. It's still going to have an easy to read dial, very, very accurate. AmeriQuartz Move It, meaning that if you get this thing here and you set it, you can basically forget it. This is kind of one of those set it and forget it type of watches. This is for the person that likes to watches that give the 1950, 1960 vintage vibes, paying homage to the World War II veterans of the past. It's going to come with two watch straps. It's going to come with their ocean strap, but they're also going to have their pass-through NATO strap. But if you want to get something different, or if you want to upgrade, you're more than welcome to do that. I have the tropical strap here, which I think looks fantastic. You can get it in a 36 millimeter. You can also get it in a 40 millimeter. I like the 36 millimeter because that's more time accurate. Now, here's the thing. To get a real Dirty Dozen watch, era specific, it's going to cost you from the high hundreds, and that may not be fully functional, maybe be completely rusted through. If you want one that's in pristine shape, it can cost you over $30,000. Check the links in the description down below. Use the code that's on the screen to get 10% off this watch. Hands down, my favorite Dirty Dozen homage that is made by any company, and I think you're going to like this as well. You want to ensure that everything in this kit, nothing has expired, broken, is open that shouldn't be open, and all of that good stuff. That's why this is now out of my vehicle, because I was going over the kit just to ensure that everything is good to go. It has very large zippers on both sides, which are easily accessible, and then it's held with loop panel at the top. Once you get inside of this, this is when you have to decide how you're going to pack this out. What do you want to keep inside, etc. So at the very top of mine is just a bag full of different types of medicines, anything from allergy release, diarrhea stop medicine, Gas X, Advil, ibuprofen, any of that stuff in here. And this is what I really wanted to kind of go through. And I buy these on big packs on Amazon. Once I buy them on Amazon, I stick them in here. I just kind of get the no name brand of this stuff, stick them in one large package that's see-through. That way I can go through this and see what has expired. There are some things I'll use past the best buy or expiration date. Medicine's not one of them. So that's why I wanted to go through this, and that's why I pulled this out. But everything in here allows for me to go through and just see what is the lot number. That way I can track and see if the medicine is good or bad, if there's a recall. I try to get mine stuff from the same company. So this is from Medicue. So they usually make their stuffs in lots, and they can tell you if there's a recall or whatever. And then I can always replenish it because it's easy to read these labels, and I like that a lot. But get whatever works for you. If you want to get the name brand Tylenol, if you want to get the name brand Advil, whatever, just go for it. At the very top here are a set of gloves. I need to add another set in here. I recently had to use these to actually help somebody clean up a wound, a bike accident, riding an e-bike, scraped his body all up. I use a pair of gloves. I usually just try to keep this thing outfitted with gloves so that I don't have to touch, you know, cross-contaminate. On the side here, there are some loop panels, some loops here. And here you can just keep any type of bandages that you may want to come here. These are conforming bandages, which is what I used one of these recently for wrapping around the Bubba's skin that actually took that e-bike accident. These things are conforming and they stick well. They are easy to use, and they're easy to they are highly functional even if you're wearing gloves. That's why I specifically like these. Now, underneath that is a triangle bandage. This one here, the thing about the triangle bandage is I want to be able to have this for use just in case there's something I need to be able to use when it comes to a limb or an appendage or something like that. A couple of safety pins I slipped in there as well. Makes it a little bit easier to pin this to itself instead of trying to do some kind of ninja wrap move. I'm not an EMT, and so I'm going to go from the basic training that the Navy gave me when I was active duty in the Marine Corps. Now, other things that are behind here are some combat gauze. So you can use this type of stuff here, quick clot combat gauze. Now, there are other combat gauze that are made, but I like to get stuff from name brand companies, made in America, have lot numbers and expiration dates. You're going to continuously hear me talk about this. This has a national stock number. You heard me talk about that earlier for your combat action tourniquet. This is an NSN number that lets you know that this is approved for sale for use by the government. It can be sold on General Services Administration or GSA. It's also made in America, but this is going to be good. Somebody has a big gaping hole on their arm or something like that. You can stick this into that wound and use that, so forth and so on. You have a combine pad. So you can use combine pad for something that's not as deep as a combat action wound. It's sterile usage. You can also want to make sure you get something that is big. So this is 5 by 9 inches. You can get them as small as, I think they make them 3 by 5. But being able to use this for that same type of usage, maybe you don't want to use your combat action gat because these are not cheap. So you want to make sure that you have these as well. Whatever one works for you. Something for a sunken chest wound. So this is for chest seal. This one specifically is for entry and exit wound. Obviously, if you walk up on somebody that has, well, if they have a stab wound and the projectile has been removed, you can use this for, and it went all the way through. You can use this for that. If someone's been shot, if you're on a range day or something like this, you want something like this for a range day. It obviously is a 2-pack because it is for entry and exit. And so North American Rescue, these are who I like to go to for these highly critical type of items, as I mentioned. North American Rescue are the same people who make the tourniquet on the outside of my pack. They're the same folks who make this. A lot of stuff that's in here is from North American Rescue. Just in case a glow stick is needed so I can illuminate the area a little bit better, maybe even help identify where the actual wound is on the body if it's dark. Crack this open, it lasts for 12 hours. Just nice to be able to have that if you need it. You can get something if you want to use a real chem light or whatever. You don't have to use a specific brand. So another sterile gauze, this one's 4x4. So a little bit smaller than the one we talked about earlier. But just being able to put any type of gauze that's not necessarily wrapping around to be able to put on a wound. Maybe someone has a wound at or above their eye or on their forehead or whatever. You can wrap this, use this around the conforming bandages. Now, one big thing that I'm a really big fan of is having emergency trauma dressing ×2. So an Israeli bandage is another thing that I like to keep on the standby. Very, very big bandages, if you can have those as well. They're very good for those larger wounds, similar to the combat action that we talked about earlier, but even bigger. This is here when apply direct compression bandage, and it also can be used as an emergency sling. You also have another trauma dressing from North American Rescue. I have some things in here that are duplicates, different sizes of stuff, but there could also be multiple wounds when you walk up to somebody. Now, this is not an IFAC. Right? So using an IFAC is something that you use on yourself. So usually if someone's carrying around an IFAC, usually that's for them. If they were to get shot or wounded or whatever, that's why I have a secondary kit that stays in my vehicle. That's by a company called 1110. That is my IFAC. And so the individual first aid kit is for me. If I'm on a range day, that's on my person, usually hanging from a carabiner or whatever. This is for use on someone else.